Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. A long time no see. I know I've been super duper extra MIA. I know I've been gone and it's not nice and it's not fair because I feel like I owe it to you guys to be consistently posting. I know we always say this, every YouTuber is like, life happened, but seriously life happened after vacation. I took another like mini staycation. I was away, I was out of town. I'm actually going back out of town tomorrow, so I'm trying to film this video and another video right after this. I do feel a little under the weather, but that's not stopping me. I am pumped, I'm ready to go. I've been like doing my research for this video. If you didn't know, obviously the title kind of says it, but this is my Morphe favorite brushes. Now, I have so many Morphe favorite brushes. Like, I have a lot of Morphe brushes. Like, besides the ones I'm about to show you, I have about 3 of these containers full of other brushes that I do use, but these were just the ones that I kind of gravitate towards. At first I was going to do a top 10 favorite Morphe brushes, but I have over 10 brushes and I still have other favorites, which is kind of ridiculous. Morphe brushes are one of my favorite brushes, period. I use them on myself, I use them on my clients. They are super inexpensive. I get so many questions. What brushes should I buy? I am on a budget. I don't know what brushes to get. Morphe brushes, hands down. Most of the brushes that I'm going to show you are in like the $8–9 range. Now some of them are like $13.99, but it's still relatively inexpensive compared to some other brands. Some of these brushes are my holy grail favorite brushes of all time, and then the other ones I do use on occasion. Now I have so many brushes that I just kind of grab whatever I see, but I noticed that I was using these a lot, so I can do a whole Morphe Crease brush favorites video if you want me to do that, or like a Morphe favorite face brushes. So these are just kind of like the gist of like my favorites. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if you guys can notice, but I actually have 2 new lights. They're pointing towards my background, so hopefully that made a bit of a difference. My good friend Donna got me them for my birthday. Thank you so much. You have to follow her on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm gonna leave her information down below. She got me these beautiful lights because she thought, you know, I needed them in my life, and I hope they make a big difference. I'm also filming on my new camera. Before I start, I also want to thank everyone who used and continuously use my Morphe affiliate discount code. I do have a discount code. I am a Morphe affiliate, which means you can get 10% off if you use the code Rosita. It's not as easy as it looks to become an affiliate and to stay an affiliate, so I just want to thank you for supporting me. This is my full-time job. I really want to thank you guys for using my code. I didn't get paid to make this video. I do get brushes sent for free, but I also do spend my own money on Morphe brushes. Like, I just placed an order on some brush cleaner because Morphe brush cleaner has quickly become my all-time favorite, even better than Cinema Secrets, which is crazy. So I do purchase brushes and brush cleaner and palettes on my own, but I do get sent some brushes for free, but I'm never paid to tell you guys that I love these brushes. So just had to throw that out there, that I do have a 10% coupon code, and it's Rosita. So let's get on with the video. So I'm going to start off with the order that I actually use the brushes. First up is the Morphe G10. This is part of their gunmetal collection. You can tell because it has that gunmetal finish. This brush retails for $5.99 and it is their synthetic concealer brush. Now this brush has many uses. As you can see, it looks like a traditional flat concealer brush. This brush has synthetic bristles, which is perfect for cream products. Now you can use this as a lip brush, as a concealer brush, any liquids or creams. I mainly use this for applying my base on my eyes, so for my paint pots, the MAC Painterly or MAC Soft Ochre. I love this for primers because it just is like a nice size, so it covers area really quickly. But I also use this as a lip brush because it is pretty thin. It does have a nice point to it, so you can really get precise if you do use it as a lip brush. This is a dupe for the MAC 242 and the MAC 195, which are both kind of just flat concealer brushes like this. So this one works really well, and for $6 you can't really beat that. Next up is the Morphe M513, and this is the brush that I use for applying a transition or crease color. So I love this one because it's super fluffy. This reminds me a lot of the MAC 224 and the MAC 217. I feel like it's a mixture between the two. I know Sigma also has a few brushes like this. Usually white Go Hair can be a little rough on the eyes, but this one's really soft. I've used it a lot. I don't get much shedding, maybe 1 or 2 hairs here and there. I have pretty small eyelids. So I like crease brushes that aren't too fluffy but aren't too pointed when I'm doing like that transition or just that first shade that you're throwing down. I feel like it depends on your eye shape. This can be a crease brush or a transition brush. You can use this for, you know, contouring your nose. Like, I feel like these brushes are very versatile. So I love this one, and again, it's the Morphe M513. Next up is the Morphe G13, again, part of their Gunmetal collection. And this one I love because it's super fluffy, but it's so dense. When the bristles are synthetic like this, it's perfect for cream products, but I like this one not only to apply like paint pots, but also to apply pigments or any kind of like shimmery or foiled shadow, because it does pack on because of the shape and because of how dense it is. I don't really like it as much for cream shadows as much as I like it for packing on just like a lid color, anything shimmery or anything frosted or metallic. Even like my ColourPop shadows, I like using this one because it picks up the product and it packs it on really nicely. This one retails for $7.99, so it's super inexpensive. If I do find a dupe for this one, I'll list it down below, but again, it's just a synthetic brush that I love to use for packing on colors and for glitters, creams, foiled, and shimmery shadows. Next up is the Morphe M514. The 514 is a bit more tapered. As you can see, it's just a little thinner and a little more kind of like pointed. Now with Morphe brushes, the more you wash them, the more fluffier they get because a lot of them are like goat hair. This one I love for like my outer V or my outer crease, just to kind of deepen things up. Also underneath my eye, I love this brush. It's probably one of my favorites, and it reminds me a lot of the MAC 221. It feels like a rougher goat hair version of the MAC 221, which is one of my favorite brushes. Again, I have a pretty small lid to work with, so I love brushes like this that are very tapered to get right in there. This one also has goat hair, and this one retails for $5.99. This one reminds me a lot of the 217 by MAC as well, and the Sigma E35. I feel like this is just a smaller version of the E35. Love this one. I feel like you guys all need this one, especially if you like to do like outer crease work. It's perfect. Next up, we have the Morphe E27. So this is part of their Elite collection. Now, my favorite collections from Morphe are the Flawless and the Elite, and I do really love the Gunmetal too. But for eye brushes, I feel like the Elite and Flawless collection are like hands down my favorite because they're precise and they're just, I don't know, they just work really well. This one has synthetic bristles. Unfortunately, this one's out of stock right now. I absolutely love this brush. I think the price, $6.99, it's just super inexpensive for the quality that you get. The Elite brushes are just made with just, I don't know, they're just really sturdy brushes. And this one reminds me a lot of the Sephora Pro Crease brush, which is also one of my favorites. This one's kind of like an inverted tapered brush because it actually fans out. This one blends shadow so nicely. I like this one to blend the shadow between my brow bone and my crease. Like, let's say I'm adding a nice yellow or warm or just kind of like a red tone color to like the kind of middle ground, so not my crease but not my brow bone, just in between that. Some people use this as a face brush, but I absolutely love this to blend out my shadows even more because we all know I love a blended shadow. Unfortunately, this one is out of stock, but I do think this one's a game changer, so if you can get your hands on it, definitely pick up the Morphe E27. Next up for the eyes is the Morphe M508, which is their smudger brush. This one retails for $3.99 and it has a sable bristle. It's this tiny little detail brush. We're getting into more of the detail brushes now. I love this one on my lower lash line. This creates the illusion of kind of like an eyeliner on your lower lash line or even on your upper lash line to tight line. If you don't feel like doing liquid liner or pencil liner, you can really get in there because it is so tiny and so precise. It's rounded. I just love this brush. I feel like it's perfect for the lower lash line. I usually like to do a really dark color on the lower lash line, and then the next one that I'm going to talk about to blend it out. This is the Morphe M222, which is their round crease brush, but I feel like it should be called their pencil brush. This one's only $2.99, and I love it because, again, it's like a pencil brush. So what I do with this one is I just blend out whatever color I did with this one. I'll do a dark shade with the M508, and then with the M222, I'll just kind of buff that out and blend it away. $2.99, such a steal. If you don't have a pencil brush, you need one in your life. This one's also perfect for that inner pop of color or even to contour your nose. So this one's a great one, M222. Love it, and I feel like they should have called it the pencil brush. Morphe probably has a pencil brush and I probably own it. A dupe to this one would be the MAC 219 because that's their pencil brush. So that's a dupe that I found. Also the Sigma E30, which is Sigma's pencil brush. And it is pretty soft. Sometimes you get a pencil brush and it's too stiff and it just doesn't really blend. I like a pencil brush that kind of has some movement because then it really just gets down there and blends. Another detail brush that I love is the Morphe 506. This one retails for $5.99. This is their Tapered Mini Blender. And I also love this one for crease work. It's pretty self-explanatory why I love this one, because it's so tapered, and I love that again for that outer crease work. Those are my favorite types of brushes because I feel like they just take your shadow to that next level. You can have all the blending brushes you want, but you do need a nice tapered one to really just cut that crease, or just to get like a soft outer crease smokiness going on there. So this one's $5.99 and I love this one. I just feel like it's so soft and it's so tapered, so it's perfect to get in that outer crease. And lastly, for eye brushes is this little baby. This is the Morphe E35, which is their Detail Smudger. This one retails for $4.99. I love this one for concealing the brows. Like, it is so tiny, you can barely see that. I feel like it just gets under the brow bone so perfectly. I mean, this one takes some time to get used to, because if you're used to concealing your brows with a larger brush, this one's going to seem like it takes forever. But I feel like if you really want to take that extra step to get the perfect brow, you really do need a tiny brush like this, because you can really get in there. Again, part of their Elite collection. Love this brush. It's perfect for concealing and spot concealing as well, because it is so tiny. You can spot conceal and then kind of blend with like a beauty blender. So I love this one also for inner pops of color. Usually with my ColourPop shadows like Tassel, I'll take Tassel on this one and just pop it in the inner corner and I'm done. Because sometimes if I use a big brush, you just get a little too much shimmer in the inner corner and it starts to look a little weird. So I love this one. It's so mini and tiny, but I definitely don't neglect this one. I love this one and I almost always use it when I'm using my ColourPop shadows. Okay, so those were all of my eye brushes. Now we're going to move on to my face brushes. First one, of course, has to be the Morphe E6 brush. This is probably Morphe's like most famous brush. I feel like everyone owns this or like knows about it. This is like the ultimate dupe to the Sigma F80, their flat top Kabuki brush. This one is their premium flat buffer. This retails for $14.99 and it's just a flat top Kabuki. Perfect for full coverage foundation application. I'm usually a beauty blender kind of girl, but when I do want that full coverage, I do use this one or my Sigma F80. So here's the Morphe E6 and this is the Sigma flat top Kabuki. I mean, the brush handles are a little different, but they're just both flat top Kabukis. Now I will say with these kinds of brushes, it is pretty difficult to get that foundation out of the actual brush, but I find that this one's not that hard. I usually deep clean this one. I don't really spot clean it because I just waste a lot of product when I'm spot cleaning with these kind of brushes. If you do have dry skin, I wouldn't really recommend using this kind of brush for foundation. I always recommend the Beauty Blender for dry skin. Why? Foundation brushes, when you are applying, when you're buffing away, that basically is exfoliating any dead skin that you have. So that's going to create the illusion of like patchiness, or if you have any hairs, like a lot of peach fuzz on your face, it's going to actually raise those hairs. So when you're taking a picture outside, like sometimes you can see your peach fuzz. Again, for full coverage, I don't really like it with matte foundations. Today I used the L'Oreal foundation. I normally wouldn't do that, but for the purpose of this video, I used it. I would normally use this for like a dewy foundation or a medium coverage foundation, just to take it to that next full coverage application level. Great for buffing foundation. It really gets in everywhere, and I love the long tapered handle. It's very comfortable to use. Next up is the Morphe E20. And this one's a pretty popular one as well. This is their Oval Detail Buffer. This one retails for $11.99. It has synthetic bristles. And people use this to cream contour or to contour period. But I like this one for concealer. Again, normally I never use a brush for my concealer. Like pretty much 99% I'm using Beauty Blender for my concealer. But today I showed you guys how I use it for concealer if I were going to use it. Again, great for buffing. If you do have a really dry under eye, I wouldn't really recommend using a brush because you are over exfoliating that area and it's just going to look very cakey. So make sure you moisturize really well when you're using brushes for cream products. Really full coverage is going to give you that airbrush look as long as that area is moisturized and you have used your under eye cream religiously. Don't use it if you have really dry under eyes because it's just not going to look cute, but it does give you that full coverage. Next up is the Morphe M528. This is their pointed contour brush. This retails for $14.99. This has goat bristle hairs. I know Nikki Tutorials use this as a contour brush. This is a contouring brush, but I like it to just put on a little bit of Laura Mercier setting powder. When I don't really want to pack on too much, I'll kind of just wisp it away with this one. This is kind of a dupe to the Sigma Tapered highlighter, which is their F35. It's just a little bit fluffier and larger. I think it's perfect for applying like under eye powder. I feel like it's a little too fluffy to bake unless you put a lot of product on this, but I like it just to kind of give me like a light application of my powder. Nothing too heavy. If I'm not really like moisturized under the eye, I don't really like to put on a lot of powder under there because it'll just accentuate any dry patches. But I do really like this one. I'm going to try it to contour. I haven't tried it to contour, even though it's a contour brush. But I always just use it for under my eye. Next up, we have the Morphe E4. I almost thought it was the E40 and my 0 just washed out, but it's just the E4. And this one is their angled contour brush. I love this for bronzing out my temples. I always reach for this one. It's one of my favorite brushes of all time. It reminds me of the Sephora Pro Contour brush, except this one's angled, but like just the look that it gives me, like a very airbrushed bronzer. Lately, I haven't been going for that like intense dark bronzer. Just a little more natural, so I used it today, and this one retails for $13.99. You can use this to contour because it does have that angled tip, but I like it for my temples because you guys know I'm all about that temple bronzer. So I really like this one, and I feel like it's just a must in my collection and a must in your collection. You need to have this one. Now the next one is kind of similar, and these two you can kind of interchange. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the Morphe E3. So the E3 and the E4 are pretty similar. The E3 is their precision pointed powder. So this one retails for $16.99. This one was $13.99. This one's just like a pointer tapered version of it. I use this one, the E3, for blush instead of bronzer, but you can do either or. You can use this one for bronzer, you can use this one for blush. I just feel like the angled helps me with bronzing, whereas this one reminds me a lot of the It Cosmetics Wand Ball Powder number 8 brush because it's just super fluffy and it just gets right on your cheeks. I feel like this one's perfect for that fake smile blush. This one again is $16.99. It is out of stock right now, but I do really like it. It's not as wispy as the NARS Yakiyo brush, but the shape kind of reminds me of it, where it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's just perfect. It's just made for the apples of your cheeks, and I always blend upwards, and I feel like this one just gives me a nice airbrush look, and it doesn't pack on my blush that hard. So I've been really liking that one, and I always use those two. This next one I was really excited to show you guys. It's the Morphe M527, which is their deluxe pointed powder brush. It has goat hairs, and I love this one because it's an exact, or okay, maybe not exact, but it's a really close dupe to the MAC 135, which is like the large paddle brush. This one is $15.99, where I think this one I paid over $40 for. It might have been in the $50 range. They're both like paddle style goat bristle brushes. I love this one for extra bronzing. If this one wasn't packing on my bronzer enough, I'll go in with this one because I just feel like it just bronzes a little stronger. I love this one with MAC Give Me Sun because, I don't know, it gets all over and you can really just bronze up your whole face and body. Really, really soft, very, very fluffy, and just, you can just see it right there. It's super soft. It's fluffy. I feel like I'm Monsters Inc. right now. I love this brush. I feel like you need it. $15.99. If you don't like that chiseled contour, you can also just bronze up with this one on your cheekbones. We're almost done. The next three that I'm going to show you, you can technically use for highlighting. This first one is the Morphe M510. I use this one not so much for highlighting. I mean, sometimes I do, but I use this one to dust away any excess powder. So if I'm baking, I like wispy brushes like this because they just dust everything away really nicely. Now, when you're baking, you have to make sure that you dust off really well. If you don't, you're going to get that flashback. Now, if you're not really familiar with baking and you're like, what are you talking about, Rose? I'm going to do a how-to baking video where I'm going to go all in depth about what powders to bake with, what is baking, and what brushes, and this and that. But if you do know what baking is, or you do know about like that flashback, usually it's because you still have a lot of powder on, or the powder has like an SPF, or it's an HD powder. So anyway, I'm like rambling. This brush is perfect to just wisp everything away. MAC does have a brush really similar to this one. Of course, I didn't write it down, but I will write it down below. It's their like wispy brush. It reminds me of a 217 in like large form. I just think it's so cute. but it does a really good job at like wisping away powders, and people also use this for highlighting, and this one retails for $7.99, which is a steal. Next up is probably one of my like all-time favorite Morphe brushes. I think this was like where I really just fell in love with Morphe brushes. This is their M310. I literally have so many of these laying around like all over. This is their fan brush. Well, it's their large soft fan brush. This one retails for $4.99, and it is probably one of my favorite brushes to highlight with. This does have gold hair, so some people do find it a little bit scratchy. I love this because you can just kind of like curve your highlight so you don't just get like a stark line. I just feel like it hits the points where I want it to hit perfectly. This is my all-time favorite Morphe brush. If I'm going to recommend you one brush out of this whole video, it's this one, the Morphe M310. Remember, 310. Love it. I love it for highlighting. You guys know I'm all about that highlight. It's only $4.99. And then if you use a 10% coupon code, girl, who are you kidding? Like, where are you going to find a cheaper fan brush that works this good? A dupe for this one is the Morphe Mac Daddy fan brush, or any kind of like goat hair fan brush. I really couldn't think of any on the top of my head. The Makeup Forever fan brush is a lot softer, so it depends on what highlight I'm using. Sometimes I'll go with that for that one, but the Makeup Forever like fan brush is like this big, so when you highlight, you're just like highlighting your whole face. Sometimes I really don't want that. Sometimes I just want to get right in the cheekbone. So love this brush. Again, it's like holy grail. I've talked about it a lot. I'm probably like beating you guys over the head with that one. Two more, promise, we're almost done. This next one is the Morphe M501. This one's really famous because of Jaclyn Hill for highlighting. This one's very, very similar to the one I just showed you, the Morphe 510. Use this on one side of my face for highlighting and then the fan brush on the other. They both gave me a really nice highlight. I still felt like the fan brush blended it better. This one has sable bristles and it retails for $7.99. So if you're really into highlighting, I would just get both and experiment to see which one you like better. I feel like the bristles remind me a lot of the Anastasia 23, the new one, the highlighting brush. I don't know, it just has like that like rough texture that really like picks up product. I really like it. So that one's a really good one. And then last but not least is the Morphe G8. This is their tapered powder slash blush brush. This one was originally $33.99, which kind of confused me on their website. I'm like, what? $33 for a brush? That doesn't sound like Morphe, but right now it's a $16.99. This is a synthetic bristled brush, and I use this one for packing on when I'm done with my makeup. If I don't feel like my under eye was bright enough, I'll take my Kat Von D powder, the banana kind of looking shade, or really any brightening powder, and just pack on right underneath the eye, and it's going to give you that pop. If you want to bake, this one's kind of good for that because it will pack on that baking powder. Baking powder, I got baking powder. Anyway, you can take a lot of the Laura Mercier powder, kind of just like throw this in there like a powdered donut, and just like pack it on like right underneath here, and then wisp it away later on with one of those other brushes that I was talking about. But I just like this for the pressed powder mainly. I just feel like it gives me like a really nice sharp edge. I do use this to reverse contour. A lot of people also use this for foundation, concealer. It's a really multi-purpose use brush. And again, $16.99, but you can use this for a lot of different things. So those were like my main chick brushes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have a lot of other Morphe brushes that I do like. So again, if you want me to do like a second part of this video, I will gladly do that. So if you do use my coupon code, thank you. If you don't, that's totally fine. You can just go to morphebrushes.com. I did get this shirt at the Ipsy, what was it, GenBeauty. It just says Beauty Queen, sorry not sorry. I know probably some of you guys are going to ask about my nails. I got them done at VSB Nails. I'll link that also down below. I kind of need to fill in, but we're just gonna ignore that. And I do have eyelash extensions on. Also, if you want to see a full tutorial on this look, it was really, really simple, but I used only Morphe brushes. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, you are the real MVP. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I will have my giveaway up very soon. I promise. I picky promise. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Coco! Coco! The main use, I mainly use this brush for applying my, and I don't know, just gets like a really